Now, we had a giggle last night at a video which was presented on the ABC as a weird way to launch a ship. You remember the twerking. Now, I still have no idea what that's about. I'm not entirely sure which military brigade or what sort of part of the Navy is being honoured, but good luck to them, okay? But guess what? You know that little thing that we laughed a lot about last night, where that weird reaction of the military brass? Well, guess what? It was completely faked. The ABC dropped that in the middle of that footage, making it seem like they were live reacting to the dancing that was taking place. But guess what? It didn't happen. In fact, first it was said by the dance troupe, who believed that this was creepily edited, and then it was confirmed by the ABC, who, among others, have apologised to the Governor-General, because what you saw as him reacting wasn't him reacting to the dancers at all. Is this the most important thing in the world? Of course not. Does it matter? You bet. Because the media has the power, not just to tell you what happened, but to give you a greater context, to give you a greater consequence of what can happen. And these little sleights of hand don't seem like much, but they are all over the media, especially over there at the media that you pay for, whether you watch it or not. The Prime Minister thought this was outrageous today.
Well, I'm disappointed that this event was so misreported. I think that was disrespectful to the performers. To suggest there were the Governor-General or others were in attendance there in that way, I think was very dishonest. And I think standards have failed. It's clear much of the reporting we've seen of that matter and that has been provided to Australians, and in this case by the ABC, was wrong, was false and was misleading. And I think that's very disappointing. I think the ABC should be reflecting on that.
Good. Because remember, they literally have a TV show, and have for the past 30 years, that sets itself up as the umpire of what's good, bad, decent and downright misleading when it comes to the Australian media, the program Media Watch. Now, this is not the first time that Channel 2 has deliberately and deceptively edited something to make it look like a situation was what they wanted it to look like rather than what it actually looked like. Again, was the dancing weird? Of course. Does anyone understand why it was there at the naval? No. Was the way they edited it funny? Sure. But then there can just be misleading things. Like when they are part of a relentless campaign to try to suggest that the government is out of touch, the government's about to hit a brick wall, and the leader of the country is somehow uncaring. Well, here was how Channel 2 made the Prime Minister look a few weeks ago, when not just aged care, but the female agenda was well and truly being discussed.
Department of Health and the regulator put a submission into the Royal Commission.
Minister. This is my minister. Our cabinet will decide our response to this Royal Commission, okay? So we've released it. I think I've answered your question. Thank you.
So Prime Minister gets the poops, turns around and leaves. But that's not what actually happened. This is what really happened, where they presented the exchange as one where the Prime Minister turned around and bailed, but in actual fact, the reporter who was asking those questions was able to keep asking questions.
The Department of Health and the regulator put a submission into the Royal Commission.
I'm the Prime Minister. This is my minister. Our cabinet will decide our response to this Royal Commission, okay? So we've released it. I think I've answered your question. Thank you.
Prime Minister, after reading the documents sent to you regarding the allegations against one of your cabinet ministers, what was your reaction?
Have we finished with the aged care questions?
No, I haven't finished with the aged care.
Okay, let's keep going if there's aged care questions.
I'd like to ask a question about the 100,000 people on the home care waiting list. You've just said that you've released so many extra places. However, only 17,000 have been released out of the 50,000 or so that you've announced.
We're releasing aged care for home care places at a rate of 1,200 a week. And I said over $5.5 billion of additional funding has been put into those places, and that's some 85,000 additional places.
And then, of course, it was on to Christian Porter questions. So again, not what happened. The message being sent by taxpayer television is about good guys and bad guys. Now, sometimes it is as meaningless as a funny cutaway, as we call it in the business, where you show a reaction to what's going on, like the twerking thing. But it was misleading because they weren't reacting to the twerking. But then again, it can just be outright misleading, like what you saw that went to air. Now, this sleight of hand is something that I need to keep telling you about because it happens all the time, everywhere. And the consequences of this sleight of hand can have drastic ramifications. Because if people are only presented one version of reality, well, of course, they end up voting that way, and there can be serious consequences, whether you like or dislike the person in power, if there is a change of government. Look what's about to happen in the United States. They're about to go packing the court, despite the fact that they said, we're not packing the court at all. That being changing the US Supreme Court. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the program with, among others, Miranda Devine. But this trick is one that is becoming a little more prevalent in the Australian media, which means you are being misled by much of the media, which is why so many people don't trust it. Which is why to criticise it means they'll come after those who criticise twice as hard as I'm going after them right now, but I don't care. My loyalty is to you, to tell you the truth, to tell you how the sausage is made. And to make this nice and clear, it happened in the American election. It happened on CNN because one of the people who worked at CNN told us so.
Yeah, I mean, like Trump, we did it. Like when Trump was, I don't know, like his hand was shaking or whatever like that. We brought in like so many medical people to like all tell a story that like it was all speculation. That he was like neurological damage, like that he was losing it. He's unfit to, you know, whatever.
Definitely the whole thing of him running during the entire like run for the campaign, showing him jogging was obviously a deflection of his age, and they're trying to make him like unhealthy.
Is that what we did? I don't know. Like, what do you mean?
We would always show shots of him jogging,
Yeah.
and that I'm healthy, you know, blah blah blah, and him in aviator shades, and like you paint him as a young geriatric.
That's why people are nervous about the type of media that they get. So no, does the twerking thing really matter? No. Does how you present political events matter? You bet.